can't hear the big.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise. That is almost the entirety of Maya Angelou's poem, Still I Rise. A perfect poem to celebrate grade 7's Rising to the Challenge project. For those of you who are joining our community today to celebrate our wonderful class of 2022, I am Wanda Hollander Green, the very proud and the very blessed head of the Hamlin School. Girls, 2 weeks ago, I remember telling you that your intentions were similar to putting hope in the air, stretching forth your hand. Here, in my hand, is a weight. And what I didn't say to you on that day about 2 weeks ago, that even as you stretch forth your hand, sometimes your hand has a weight in it, a challenge in it. Some of you have chosen to examine the foster care system, human trafficking, looking at the climate, looking at the environment, looking at all of the things in this world that sometimes leave some people on the margins or leave important issues neglected. You have brought those people and those issues to the center of your lives, stretching out your hands, lifting the weight, sometimes the weight of history, sometimes the weight of statistics that are sad to look at, but important to face. I love the fact that you, the class of 2022, you have stretched forth your hand with courage and optimism to do what you can to rise to the challenge. You rise, and you rise. Again and again, you have done work that makes us all proud. And today, we celebrate you. I welcome all of the parents and family members and extended family members from California and all over who are tuning in synchronously or asynchronously to take pleasure and to learn from the work that our students in the current 7th grade have done. As Sarah Dix Hamlin said, an education at Hamlin was meant to meet the challenges of our time. Every single person in the class of 2022, you have decided that you are not too young to face these challenges and to imagine yourselves as agents of change, as Hamlin students who can do something. Maybe you can't solve the whole problem, but you can do something to make this world a better place. So congratulations to the class of 2022. We applaud the work that you have done. We are proud of you and we are ready to learn. Thank you for rising to the challenge and doing such great work as this very, very busy and challenging school year comes to an end. Thank you.
Mental Health and Eating Disorders, RTC 2021 by Addison Howard, Chloe Smith, and Lily Graber.
Content warning. This presentation includes information on topics that can make some people uncomfortable. In no way do we mean to trigger anyone. We only intend to spread awareness and educate people on this topic.
Essential questions. These are our essential questions that led our research. We were really interested in researching eating disorders and how it was related or connected to other mental disorders, such as depression and anxiety, because eating disorders are very common in girls our age, and we wanted to learn about more things we could do to help. We know that during the pandemic, depression rates have gone up very fast, and we wanted to research how this could lead to more serious issues. Our first one is, what are the most common eating disorders in the United States? How does social media and the important people in one's life affect individuals' self-image and relationship with food? What co-occurring mental health issues exist in individuals suffering from body dysmorphia? And what actions can we take to enact short-term and long-term change in decreasing the negative impact of eating disorders and promote body positivity instead?
What is an eating disorder? Eating disorders are behavioral conditions characterized by severe and persistent disturbance in eating behaviors and associated distressing thoughts and emotions. This is a map of deaths due to eating disorders per million persons in 2012. As you can see, approximately 3 million people died due to eating disorders in the US in 2012.
Who is affected by eating disorders? Many people are affected by eating disorders, sometimes even more than you think. All ages, 5 through 80 years old. All races, although people of color are 50% less likely to receive treatment or be diagnosed. All genders, with females being 2 times more likely, and all sexual orientations.
Common eating disorders in the US. There are many different types of eating disorders, and these are the ones we decided to focus on. The first one is anorexia. People with anorexia restrict the food they eat and engage in excessive exercise in order to lose weight. Typically, people who suffer from anorexia have a low body weight compared to their height and age. Another eating disorder we focused on was bulimia. People who have bulimia overeat and use unhealthy, dangerous ways to rid their body of calories and food in order to lose weight. Another eating disorder, the last eating disorder we decided to focus on is binge eating disorder. Binge eating disorder is where people eat large quantities of food, often very quickly and uncomfortably, without control. Another thing we focused on was body dysmorphia. It is not an eating disorder, but is a mental disorder. Body dysmorphia is where people believe they look differently than they actually do. They have insecurities others do not notice. This makes the person want to fix these imperfections. It causes people to develop eating disorders like anorexia and bulimia so that they can feel more confident on how they look.
Polls and questions. We have a couple of questions. The first question is on anorexia. What % of people do you think genetically inherit anorexia? You can put your answers in the chat. The options are A, 12 through 56%, B, 46 through 72%, C, 74 through 86%, and D, 88 through 99%.
Chloe's covered up and I don't know how to get rid of that box.
The answer is B, 46 to 72%. That's a lot. People who have anorexia in their family are most likely to get it because it is highly inheritable. Some genes that contribute to developing eating disorders have been shown to be associated with specific personality traits such as obsessive thinking, perfectionism, high levels of sensitivity, and rigidity. Now we have a question on bulimia. What percent of people with bulimia do you think also have an anxiety disorder? You can put your answers in the chat again. The options are A, under 10%, B, under 20%, C, over 50%, and D, over 75%. You were right. The answer is C, over 50%. The largest anxiety-related eating disorder is bulimia, with over 50% of people affected by it. Now we have a question on binge eating disorder. How many people do you think suffer from binge eating disorder in the US? You can put your answers in the chat again. The options are A, 500,000, B, 1.8 million, C, 2.8 million, and D, 4 million. Most of you got it right. The answer is C, 2.8 million. Binge eating is the most common eating disorder in the United States. Now we have one last question on body dysmorphia. How many new cases of body dysmorphia do you think there are each year? The options are A, about 10,000, B, about 50,000, C, about 100,000, and D, about 200,000. You can put your answers in the chat. That's really good. You got it right. The answer is D, 200,000. Now we will be showing Addison's video.
How does social media affect one's self-image and relationship with food? We would like to show you a video that shows how unrealistic and fake beauty standards are. In this video, you can see how much Photoshop can do and how it can be harmful. Ways that social media affects one's self-image and relationship with food are: everyone wants to fit into the beauty standards, but because they're so unrealistic, it causes people to do extremely unhealthy things to fit in. Other people who aren't like this sometimes aren't accepted because everyone thinks they have to be skinny and flawless to be accepted, instead of just being themselves and being confident in their appearance. This can lead to excessive amounts of pressure put on people to try and look like them, and it takes a toll on people's mental health if they can't look like that. Also, influencers want to make it look as though they are flawless, but in reality, they aren't. It causes people to become more insecure about their body if they are constantly looking at perfect people online. TikTok, Instagram, and other social media platforms spread these ideas and implement them into people's minds. How can friends and family affect how you feel about your body? When the people around you are restricting food, it is part of what you see as normal because you're used to it. Since you think it's normal to do or okay to do, you do it too. These habits can cause generations of people at high risk for eating disorders because it will be passed down over and over by influence. If you're in a space where you're being teased about how you look, then it can give you insecurities. If the people around you normalize a certain weight or way of looking, then it makes you think you are different from everyone else, and that is unhealthy. Friends and parents should be accepting about the way someone looks, because then things like body dysmorphia, anorexia, and binge eating won't evolve. Here are some figures that represent how big of an issue eating disorders are. 16% of transgender college students have reported having an eating disorder. 28.8 million people of all ages and genders suffer from an eating disorder in the US. About 26% of people with an eating disorder have attempted suicide. What did we do to help?
Social media. One way we decided to help with this short-term solution is to make a social media account. We started an account on TikTok, and we might also go to Instagram. We're using this as an opportunity to raise awareness on eating disorders and try to help make people feel better about themselves. We made one video with positive quotes to make people feel better, and the other video showing what anorexia is to spread awareness.
Another way we decided to help as more of a long-term solution is by emailing our concerns to companies or stores that do not have a wide variety of body sizes or a plus size section. We decided to focus mainly on Brandy Melville because, as you can see in these photos, there isn't any diversity in their website and no body diversity. Their clothes only come in one size, but obviously one size doesn't fit everyone. We made an outline of an email to them expressing our concerns, and anyone is welcome to look over, edit, or add things to the email. You are also allowed to send it to the same or different brands you think could use more diverse body sizes. We wanted multiple people to send the email, so we will leave the link to the email template in the chat, and you can send it anytime if you're interested in helping.
How to support loved ones struggling with an eating disorder. We talked to multiple psychotherapists, and here's some of the tips they gave to help a loved one if they're going through something like this. Encourage them to talk to a professional. Give them space to talk about their feelings. Listen with empathy. Don't be their food police. Don't talk about their appearance positively or negatively. Give them time and space to recover on their own terms. Offer positive affirmations about their personality. Do you have any other ideas from your own experience?
If you do, you can raise your hand or put them in the chat. And we'll put the link to the doc right now. Now we have a special thanks to our faculty advisor, Caitlin Casey, our interviews and email correspondence sources, Meredith Walker, who is the co-founder of Smart Girls at the Party, Dr. Ali Weiser, Education and Resources Manager at Alliance of Eating Disorders, Daylin May, clinical social worker and psychotherapist at Private Practice, Alyssa Stevens, psychotherapist at Private Practice, Meredith Ackley, Vice Chair Board of Directors at Bring Change to Mind, and Andrea McTamney, West Coast Child Mind Institute committee member. These were our resources.
Thank you for coming. Do you have any questions? And we're gonna leave the link for the next Zoom you're supposed to go in the chat.
Yeah, the next Zoom rotation you'll go to is the animal abuse group. And I think there's a break in between them, but that's the next link. Thank you so much for coming. Also, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. We chose this topic because we were really interested in learning more about eating disorders since they are really common in girls our age. And we know a couple people who have or have experienced things like this. And just to get a raise of hands, can you raise your hand if you've known someone or known about someone who has had an eating disorder? Asin, do you have a question?
Okay, go ahead.
What was the most interesting thing you learned when you were studying this topic?
The most interesting thing I learned is that actually a lot of boys and men do develop eating disorders. I thought it was more of a female thing, but I actually learned that it is common for boys to have eating disorders. It is more common for girls to have eating disorders, but that was really something interesting that I learned.
Same, and I also learned that it's common in younger kids and adults. I thought it was mostly teens our age.
Thank you so much for coming. Have a great day.